You are watching the New American Media. Live from the left coast of the United States in this solar system, in this Milky Way galaxy, welcome to the Unhappy Hour. My name is Brian Engelman. Thank you for joining us today. We broadcast to you live from the home of the back-to-back 3.5 magnitude earthquake centered in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. It shook our building yesterday. It shook the building. I don't know if everyone out there has had a chance. If everyone out there has had a chance to be a part of an earthquake, but it is a jarring experience, almost like if a car hits your building, or if someone grabs your building and just kind of goes, ugh, it just shakes you. You know, ever been shaken by somebody? It's really weird. My wife and I both, our legs were, what is the phrase? The legs were just jelly. It did something to the legs, and it was really weird. It happened at midnight. So, yes, keep an eye out there for any natural disaster, whether it's a hurricane coming through the south, headed toward New Orleans, whether it's a drought out there in the Midwest, whether it's tornadoes, whether it's earthquakes. You know, look out after your neighbors. Look after the elderly in your neighborhood. Just try to be aware of what's going on around you, because it's a strange world we live in. But with no further ado on the matters of the day not related to sports, let's move right along here. I want to first thank you for listening to us. If you're listening live, thank you very much. You can tweet us, and we'll read those tweets live on the air. And you can do that at American_media_. That's American_media_. Make sure that you're following us. And if you're listening to this after the fact, please consider clicking subscribe and telling your friends and leaving your mostly civil comments below in the video, because this is an ongoing conversation. It never really stops. This is Strictly Browns. Strictly Browns is a part of the Unhappy Hour. I am a Cleveland sports fan, always have been. Browns, Indians, Cavs, and Buckeyes. Of course, I pay attention to the national news, but that's what I really care about. And this is a segment within that show called Strictly Browns. We are pleased to once again welcome back our favorite co-host for Strictly Browns. This is Brandon O'Dell. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm living the dream. Can't quite complain. I know it's been a busy few weeks for you, being the new father. Congratulations again, by the way.
Well, thank you very much.
But by the way, share with the football audience whatever you talk to a first-time dad out there. What have you learned, or someone that's going to be a first-time dad? Because my brother, I have been informed, might know a guy. So tell me, talk to a new prospective father. What don't they know?
I guess that number one, that babies poop a lot. I am someone who, I guess, I'm not ashamed to admit that I poop a lot myself, but she really poops a lot. So I would say that's the number one thing. I mean, you could be changing a poopy diaper once an hour.
Oh my! I change the litter box once a day, and that's enough.
Yeah, so you definitely get used to it pretty quickly.
All right. Well,
I was actually kind of reflecting upon this a little bit yesterday. You get used to it pretty quickly, and it's like, hey, just no big deal. So I would say that's one of the things that I would say I've definitely learned early on. And the other thing I would say really is the fact that you don't listen to all the horror stories out there about all the crazy things that other people had happen with their kids. Every kid is different, and you just your experience is going to be what your experience is, and the experience that we've had so far through 1 month could end up being completely different 6 months from now. So it's you just live life as it comes and do the best you can day by day.
Well, that brings up. I went to a Cincinnati Bengals game with my father-in-law, and it was a Browns-Bengals game, and someone said, "Hey, you," talking obviously to me, in line for the urinal, as it were, and he looked at my Browns t-shirt and my Browns hat, and he said, "If it's brown, flush it down." Unfortunately, the Browns have a connotation to them where those jokes can be made, and so let's just get right into it, talking about getting pooped on. Art Modell passed away, and it really brought up unpleasant memories for me of when the Cleveland Browns were taken away by Art Modell and Al Lerner to Baltimore, and it's kind of opened up that never quite healed properly wound for me. We don't need to dwell a whole bunch on this. I'll do a whole segment on it coming up here on the Unhappy Hour. But what were your thoughts as you read the news that Art Modell had passed away?
Okay, well, this is what I'll say first of all. I think you and I were in kind of a unique age period because, when you are in high school and something happens and you are playing high school football at the time, that's what takes up the vast majority of your football interest at the time. I was far more interested in what was happening on my football team. Not that I wasn't a huge Browns fan at the time or anything like that, but if you've got your own games to worry about every weekend, that's going to be a great way to get your mind off of what's going on with national football. I think it's once we get up into our 20s and 30s and stuff like that, that's when the NFL really becomes so much even more important, just because of the fact that you don't have your own personal experiences to be able to enjoy that much more. So I think the fact that it happened when it did in 1996, I mean, let's face it, we're juniors, seniors in high school. We're spending a lot of time just enjoying our own experiences on the football field, and maybe weren't necessarily worrying so much about what was going on with maybe how our dads were dealing with things and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, it definitely I respect the fact that he is able to make his own decisions. I certainly didn't agree with the choice that he made, no more than I agreed with the choice that LeBron made as far as how he did things. But I mean, frankly, at this time, I mean, it's hot. 16 years after the fact, and honestly speaking, if you haven't had a chance to really get over it by now, then you never will. And I think it's high time that people moved on. I'm not saying that you need to worship the man or anything like that, but the man is dead. The man is dead. He hasn't been relevant in the National Football League for over 10 years, or almost 10 years, since he gave up really the control of the Ravens. So I mean, basically, I'm certainly sorry for the fact that everything happened with the Browns the way that it did. But at this point, I just don't think it's as huge of a news story as what people are making it out to be.
Well, you brought up something interesting. Brandon and I, for those of you who don't know, Brandon and I did about 3.5 years of college radio at Bowling Green State University, the same place that Jay Crawford on ESPN where he went. And yeah, we came into school. We were roommates together. What was that? That would be the second year, so our sophomore year. We became roommates after we met the freshman year. And yeah, Brandon and I are the same age, and we both played high school football right outside of Cleveland. Brandon a little closer, me about 30 minutes away. And this was 96. 96 was the beginning of my senior year before I graduated in 97. So my senior year, and I'd gone through a whole bunch of different football issues that I'll tell you about later, from being ineligible to being injured and becoming a starter on an undefeated football team. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and we had really good coaches and really good teammates. But really, you're absolutely right, Brandon. This was a very unique time, though, because our senior year, underneath the lights with thousands of your peers sitting up in the stands watching you play, I mean, we had Jim Thome in our stands because the Indians were hot, and this was the first year there was going to be no Cleveland Browns since most of these people could even remember. They always grew up with the Cleveland Browns team. So, I mean, we became one of the hottest tickets in town going to the playoffs and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it was really uncomfortable. I was at that final game, Brandon. I got the seat from Municipal Stadium when the Browns played the Bengals at home once they had announced it, and people were taking their seats with them. It was really sad. I don't know that I ever really got over it.
Yeah, I know my dad was there as well, and he had a piece of the final his final seat. Honestly, I'm not really too sure what happened to that. Maybe it's somewhere in his rec room or something like that. Sorry, I'm going to be passing past a very loud machine right now, so if you can't hear me very well, maybe you should talk for a moment.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll just relay my experience. It was very few things were more sad. I went to that game with another player that I played high school football with the Brunswick Blue Devils, and we both went to the final game. You know, we took the RTA down. You know, drove to the RTA, the rapid transit, and went in and took in a game. I mean, it was really bad. Just not having, just knowing that everything you used to have is completely gone. To just wake up and realize that the Cleveland Browns, I mean, you care about it. Obviously, it doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day. It doesn't really change my life. But the Browns are someone I identified with. I grew up watching Bernie Kosar going into the playoffs, and Ernest Biner and John Elway, and there was a history there. Karma owed Cleveland, and that's what you give Cleveland after all those close but not quite. You kick them in the groin when they're already down. You know, so, I mean, I'm waiting to get past that. Let me ask you, Brandon, do you think that the Browns owe Art Modell some kind of tribute for this Sunday's home game against the Eagles?
What I would say, and, you know, it's a tricky situation, I would say you just have a moment of silence, and, you know, you just put it up on the scoreboard. You don't make a big deal about it. You put it up on the scoreboard, and then, you know, you have a quick moment of silence, and then if there's, you know, idiots that want to start booing and stuff, you know, those people are going to start booing. Those are the same people that booed Tim Couch when he was limping off the field and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of normal, respectful people like you or I out there, and unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of idiots too. And so if the idiots want to be idiots, let them be idiots. And, you know, that reflects poorly upon them. It doesn't reflect poorly upon, you know, the Browns organization or all of the other fans that can, you know, cheer and be fans, or can boo someone in a, you know, in a way that is, you know, respectful to the fact that there's a game and then there's real life, you know. So anyway, you know, you have the moment of silence, and then you move on, and I don't think you really have to address it much more than that.
Well, I'm a guy that one of my prized possessions that same senior year was a T-shirt I got at that game that was "Go to Hell Modell." You know, so for me, I have a little reconciling to do here with the level of anger that I've been carrying around on this, you know, because a lot of times, whether it's 9/11 or whether it's, you know, your favorite team goes away, or, you know, whatever pain we've all felt in our life, whether it's trivial, like a sports team leaving, or losing a loved one, you know, or a very good friend. I mean, most people have had at least one experience with that. It still hurt, and it still filled me with rage and anger. And I guess for me, I'm having to deal with that today. I read a tweet from Shannon Sharp. He said, as Cleveland Browns fans, we simply cannot... I'm sorry. He said, a very sad day in Baltimore with the passing of former team owner Art Modell. Art was loyal, honest, and cared for his players and employees. That's what Shannon Sharp said. I replied on Twitter, as Cleveland Browns fans, we simply cannot and never will agree with your statement that Art Modell was loyal. So I didn't bash the man. I didn't go into a really lousy place or frame of mind. But I mean, he's saying that he's loyal, and you know, let's not rewrite history, folks. You know, he really kicked me in the groin. He ripped the hearts out of millions of people that are Cleveland Browns fans, and that's really hard to get over. Any final thoughts, and we'll move on to the preview game, Brandon?
You know, not really. I mean, I agree with those sentiments. You know, but looking at it from someone who was a Raven and played some of his best careers in Baltimore, or best years of his career in Baltimore, I can certainly see where Shannon Sharp is coming from in that respect. So, you know, speaking of ripping our hearts out, we don't got to worry about Art Modell as far as ripping someone's heart out. We have our own team here in Cleveland, the current Cleveland Browns, that do a great job of it themselves. So let's just take a couple of minutes and talk about the game that we have coming on. We have the Philadelphia Eagles. Everyone knows that they've gotten that the Browns got their butts handed to them on a silver platter a couple of weeks ago in the preseason. Everyone knows about this attacking Philadelphia defense. Everybody knows about Michael Vick, Shady McCoy, and these quick, shifty receivers that Philadelphia will run out there. I mean, I don't think too many people are giving the Browns, a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks of being able to win this game.
Well, let's look at Brandon Weeden. He's going to be the first Browns rookie quarterback in franchise history to start on opening day, and the 11th offensive starter since, or the opening day starter since '99. I mean, 11 new starting quarterbacks since '99. Add 11 to '99, you're at 2010. You're saying you only had the same quarterback in 2 consecutive years, twice in 13 years. That is incredible, the futility that the Browns have had at that position and coaching for that position and drafting well enough to protect and provide and have a game plan for that position. The Browns are really bad with their track record in developing quarterbacks. Do you expect anything different out of Brandon Weeden?
All I can say is let's have him play a real NFL game before we anoint him as the savior, or before we anoint him as being another loser. I mean, all we've seen is just a few little glimpses. I mean, he has the tangibles. He has the size. He has the arm strength, the quote-unquote accuracy. But is he going to make the right decisions when he has these Pro Bowl caliber defensive ends breathing down his neck? And that's what still remains to be seen. So, I don't know how it's going to go with Brandon Weeden. I mean, all I know is that, the Browns are trying to figure it out, and sooner or later you figure that something's going to go right. So, Brandon Weeden, we'll see. I think if the other pieces around him can elevate their level of play, I think Weeden is going to be fine. But on the other side is the quarterback himself is supposed to elevate the play of those around him. So we'll see if Brandon Weeden is able to do that.
It looks like Trent Richardson, the decision to leave him out of some of those some of the preseason games and then having his knee scoped again, he appears to be healthy. He appears to be ready. I don't think they're going to give him 40 carries or 30 carries, maybe not even 25. But I think you're going to see 15 to 20 touches out of Trent Richardson this week. I think you're going to see him catching passes out of the backfield. I think we might actually see the player that we drafted to try to turn this lousy offense around. You need good players and good schemes to exploit those strengths. What are you expecting to see out of Trent Richardson?
Once again, I mean, that might even be more of a mystery than with Brandon Weeden, because at the very least we saw Brandon Weeden a little bit in the preseason. We have seen nothing of Trent Richardson other than the few days in training camp this week. So, I mean, I guess you hope that he's able to show some of that burst and some of that explosive power that he's demonstrated so far, but or at least in his college career. But let's be honest. I mean, there's been certainly plenty of other highly drafted running backs in the past who haven't really been able to have it translate to the pro game. So, I mean, that's certainly something that, think of Keyjana Carter or Rashaan Salam as two that really come to my mind. So, I don't know. We'll just there are really just so many unknowns right now. You're playing so many rookies. You're playing so many players with very, very little true game experience. It is truly, truly difficult to make any real prognostications about what you see, except in the case of the national pundits who say that the Browns are just going to basically just get absolutely smoked by every single team they play this year, just because of all that. So, I mean, it's the easiest thing to say is that they're going to stink and that they're going to get destroyed, and that Trent Richardson's knee isn't going to hold up, and that Brandon Weeden is going to continue to throw the ball, to be able to make some plays downfield, but also get strip sacked 3 or 4 times a game. Who knows what's going to happen? Ask me after week 5. Maybe I'll have a better idea of really what is going to happen with the Browns season.
Well, so if that's the case, Brandon, I guess it really comes down to Play ball. Start the season. Let's see what we got. I mean, I think we see some bright spots and we have a few question marks. I think that's the same with every single NFL team. But other teams have had more success recently, so you're willing to just give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, they probably got it under control. They usually do. You can say that if you're a Steeler fan. You can't say that if you're a Cleveland fan. Every year the leash gets shorter and says, you got to turn this around now. And in the NFL, this is a league where you can turn 100%. It around now. So, let me go into overtime here, and I'll let you get running here. What is your favorite moment from playing football? Because there's a reason we love this game. Let's not lose sight of the fact that now we're all fantasy football owners, and we all pretend to be Jerry Jones, and we live vicariously through these athletic warriors. It's the Olympics meets the military, but it also involves playing the game, whether it's backyard, whether it's high school. When I say what is your one moment that stands out from playing the game of football, what would that be?
I never really was a player who shined as far as playing in the games and stuff like that. Definitely was more of a bench warmer most of my time. Probably one of my favorite moments that I remember is we had a kid on our team named, I'll just say his first name was Paul, and he was, I was a junior, he was a senior captain, but a real jerk, not the kind of captain that people really wanted to follow. A meathead linebacker kind of guy, played fullback, running back, and stuff too. Just kind of a jerk.
And this is a guy that didn't have the respect of his teammates fully, is what you're getting at.
Well, he had a respect of the sycophants that were in his little clique, but not too many people besides that. But,
yeah, I never liked this.
Would always talk crap to a lot of the younger guys and the guys that didn't play a whole lot, and ask why in the H are you even out here and stuff like that. So, they're out there because they want to be involved in a school sport, and I'm not saying this was me. This was the stuff that happened to other kids. Taking kids and throwing them in garbage cans and stuff like that because you're bigger and tougher than they are, and because you're a better football player than they are. So anyway, just a total jerk. And one time in practice, he went out for like a little screen pass or whatever. I had sniffed it out, and the running back the quarterback threw a high pass, and so he had to leave his feet to catch it, and I just absolutely leveled him right at his midsection and flipped him over, and he did a complete 180 flip and landed straight on his back, and all his wind was knocked out of him and stuff. And so obviously as soon as he, a bunch of people are like, oh wow, yeah, and as soon as he gets up, he wants to come up and kick my butt, and what the H am I doing that to the star player? And the coach has put him in his place and told him to go back, because he had to eat his crow a little bit and stuff. So that was definitely one of my favorite moments, because deep down I knew, I said, look, I'm a successful student, I'm a nice person, I'm going to be a far more successful human being than you are. You've got one more year of hitting the peak of your existence, and then it's all going to be downhill for you from here. So enjoy it. So that was probably my best moment.
Well, you know what, that would be a nice time to remind people, if you've taken the time to listen to our Strictly Brown segment and you remember an experience similar to that, because that really brought it back for me, thinking of those people where they peaked in high school, they were jerks, that's how they handled themselves, and I made plenty of mistakes, I did plenty of dumb things I regret, things I would do differently a second time around, but that's part of growing up. That's what high school is. You go through learning experiences. You get thumbs up on a few. You get thumbs down on a few. And, who are you the next decade? Who are you the decade after that? And for me, playing football taught me a lot about organization and teamwork and kind of authority. If it was earned authority, it was something I could follow and march alongside of. And then there were times you learn the difference between the good type of trying to teach you and then the wrong type of trying to impose their power on you. And, I learned those lessons, but I would say one of my favorite practice field moments would be when I was trying to make a name for myself. I had just come up from 8th grade football, and I blindsided the quarterback. This must have been 9th grade, so the ninth grade team was separate. And man, it was one of those slow motion. I played right defensive end, and you have those slow motion runs at the quarterback, and you blast him like in the upper 2/3 of his spine, and his whole body in slow motion goes backward, and the ball's fumbled. It's just the most beautiful sack. Like I just remember making one of those in practice, and I'll never forget it, and it will always be in slow motion for me. But that's why we love football, Brandon. It's not. I don't know. Do you think people understand that, or do you think it's just a little bit of fun and an excuse to have a few soda pops on the weekend?
I think it just depends on where you come out with it. And I think that people that have played football in an organized fashion probably do have some of those, maybe more fond types of, memories like what you're talking about and stuff. So, but anyway, I think all things considered, it's a big question mark as far as how things are going to go on Sunday. If the Browns are going to win, I think they're going to win by doing three things. Number one, they're going to have, and I guess it's pretty obvious all the time, they're going to have to find a way to hold on to the ball and not commit turnovers. If they start committing turnovers, if they lose the turnover battle, they've lost this game. There's no way that they are going to win. So they're going to have to find a way to be able to win the turnover battle, and that means that the defense is going to have to produce some turnovers as well. So that's number one. I think number two, and it's going to hopefully cause some turnovers, is they're going to have to get their hands on Michael Vick, and they're going to have to put him on the turf. And if they're able to do that, I think that that's going to be able to help to make some things happen. And then number three, it's, you may not be able to completely stop him, but can you contain LaShawn McCoy? If you can keep him under, 100 yards total offense, maybe keep him around the, 60 or 70 yards total offense, I think that gives your team a good chance to, put it in Michael Vick's hands and let Michael Vick maybe get a chance to make a few mistakes. So, if they're able to do those things, maybe they might have a shot. And let's say how about a 17-14 win for the Browns?
All right. I know last year proved me a little bit wrong by picking points. I always imagined that the Browns could find a way to score some points, but I'm going to do it again. Let's say Cleveland 27 and the Eagles 21. I'll predict a little bit of scoring, a couple of Phil Dawson action, little bit of I'm predicting some points. I think Brandon Weeden has shown me enough.
How about an interception return for a touchdown from Joe Hayden before he leaves for his suspension or something? That'd be a nice little way to say, hey, I contributed to something before I got to serve a suspension for making a dumb mistake. So, well, we will see. It'll be fun either way, and hey, one way or the other, win or lose, it's football season, and that's a good time of year.
Absolutely. Brandon, one last question. This is double overtime, and I'll let you go. What was your favorite tailgating experience? Because you said it's a fun time to watch football, and for me it brings up feelings of like barbecue and friends and booze. And when I say tailgate experience, what comes to mind for you? Because millions of us are just waiting to fire up that barbecue.
Honestly, never really did a whole lot of barbecuing with tailgating. So we'd usually bring some food from home, maybe some good corned beef sandwiches from Tal's.
Well, I guess we all have our own individual way of celebrating, whether it's Thanksgiving or game day, I suppose. So, all right, well then, I'll tell you what, you have homework. You need to barbecue, and I need to get some good corned beef sandwiches for the game. How about we make that swap sometime this year? Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan. Go Browns.
Go Browns. Thank you very much, Brandon. That is Brandon O'Dell. He always joins us for these Strictly Browns segments. I just love this time of year. You can feel that it's changing. You know that fall is arriving. School has started. I mean, between the Olympics and then the political season, cycles are changing. This is a cyclical planet. You go through 4 seasons, spring to summer to fall to winter. In football, gets you from summer through fall into winter, and then you start again. It's such a great time, and just be smart, be safe, be careful. Try to have a good time, and try to really, really reconnect with your friends and family. It can be hard sometimes, and we all kind of connect ourselves through Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and television, and we got to remember that we got to get out there and reconnect with the people that we love. And if we can count our buddies on one hand, call up a few more people, Reach out to some family. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's all coming around. December 21st, 2012, people. It's right around the corner. Talk about cycles ending and beginning. I just love when football kicks off. I always have. It might be because I played in high school for a couple of years, once in middle school and then the 4 years of high school. But for me, it's like, all right, time to get ready, time to get in shape, time to get some endurance, time to, all right, let's go, have a game plan. And then it's about winning, and as the Browns are overdue for winning. I will say one positive thing about Art Modell. Oh, man, how do I do this? Because I'm really being filled with cynicism and sarcasm and frustration and lingering anger that I have not really resolved or dealt with. But no, I will legitimately say, because I'll come back, I'll talk just about Art Modell in a minute. I just want to make this point before I kind of gather my thoughts a second and then go into a segment just about Art Modell, because it is kind of an open wound. But Art Modell did bring Cleveland the last championship that Cleveland has celebrated. However, it was very hard. What was it, 2001 when the Ravens won the Super Bowl? That was the year when Al Lerner, who facilitated the deal between Baltimore and Art Modell, wasn't the contract signed on Al Lerner's private jet, and Al Lerner then bought the Browns? So he helped steal the thing that he then monetized and sold back to you? It's like prohibiting you from catching your rainwater and then forcing you to purchase back a city product when you could have caught it and filtered it yourself. Thanks for nothing. But the first season back for the Browns was, wasn't that exactly the same year that the Ravens won the Super Bowl? I mean, add that up, mix in some LeBron James this year, and it's really bringing back some unpleasant sports memories for me as a Cavs, Indians, Browns, and Buckeyes fan. It's just a lot, really. So we'll get into that in the next segment, but what I wanted to say is that Art Modell did bring the Cleveland franchise of the Cleveland Browns the last championship Cleveland has ever been able to celebrate. However, that wasn't with the Baltimore Ravens in the early 2000s. It was back in 1964. So not only did you take our team away, you then won a Super Bowl and became competitive for a decade and a half straight with our old team, while we've been miserable for a decade and a half. Miserable. So yeah, it's a little hard having warm and fuzzy feelings, and I understand that Art Modell once did some good things for this city and this franchise and for the fans and for the team and for some charities, and I understand how people felt about him in Baltimore, but don't forget, that guy stole from us. Yeah, you don't need to leave your comment saying that was his team, he could do whatever he wants. I understand that. If he can do whatever he wants, I can feel however I want. So we'll get to that. I'll do a whole segment. Just got to get into it because it's pretty much a topic unto itself. So we'll take a quick break. I want to say, if you're not currently subscribing to this program and listening to it after the fact on YouTube, would you please do us a favor and click subscribe? We would greatly appreciate you doing that, and tell some of your friends. And then check out some of the other videos. Scroll back at this stuff. We've done interviews. We've done some sports, some politics, some spirituality, some stuff in between. Take a look, whether it's finance or politics or freedom or firearms, comedy, Congress. It doesn't matter. Leave some comments here because this station is growing because we think people want to discuss some of these issues. Maybe not every day is about sports, but some days are. Some days are about politics, and other days I can't stomach it. I feel like my head's going to explode. To quote Joe Biden, I literally felt like my head was going to explode. He misused the phrase literally over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I know this because one of my friends brought up a similar story and told us of her frustrations when people misuse the phrase literally. And we talked about it and laughed about it and discussed it for about an hour or two. And it became kind of a theme for a weekend. And so, having to listen to Joe Biden talk about literally, my head will literally explode. No, that's incorrect. Your head cannot literally explode. you can't do that. You're speaking metaphorically, hypothetically, with artistic license, but it can't literally happen. But anyway, I digress. We'll get back on the other side. If you're not following us on Twitter, we're at American_media_. Follow us on Facebook, The New American Media. Leave your comments here on YouTube, youtube.com/The New American Media, and click subscribe. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. We're going to talk specifically about Art Modell. There's a little bit there when you start peeling back the layers of the onion. It brings up a lot of uncomfortable recollections, if you will. We'll be right back. Thanks a lot.
You were listening to The Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Follow thenewamericanmedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
This is The New American Media. Agree to disagree. Yeah, it's a radio show we have on thenewamericanmedia.com every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Join the show. What do we talk about? Politics, religion, and spirituality. Basically anything you're not supposed to talk about in a bar. You're not supposed to have these conversations inside of a bar, but we have them every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific on thenewamericanmedia.com. Join the show, offer your opinion, and let's agree to disagree, but let's have a good conversation.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just something, a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interests and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where governments intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters. Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. You know, this housing crisis that we've been in for a few years now has really taken a toll on a lot of families. I know somebody you've worked with, somebody that you're related to, maybe even yourself. You might have gone through some sort of foreclosure, short sale, deed in lieu of foreclosure, or any other nonsense going on in the financial markets tied to housing. One of the things that is not talked about enough is the fact that a lot of people have to get rid of their homes right now and go into some sort of apartment-style living. And in that situation, many people can't bring their cat or dog, their friend, their companion, a member of their family. Imagine your dog, imagine your cat, dropped off at a shelter. Oh, it's a shelter. They'll be safe. No, the shelters just don't have the resources capable to take care of these animals, and thousands of them are put to death every single week. Please, if you have the opportunity, go become a foster parent at a shelter. Go to your local shelter, adopt a dog or cat. Trust me, a family out there is going to really appreciate the effort. If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com. Be sure that you go on to facebook.com and do a quick search for The New American Media and like our page, because we like it when you do that.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for the Unhappy Hour live sports radio show on thenewamericanmedia.com. Here is your host, Brian Engelman.